name's Gabrielle and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about self-love. So in the past, my life really wasn't going to plan. I had long-term depression and anxiety. I wasn't succeeding in my career. I was doing jobs that were really below my skill level because I had zero confidence. I was in toxic relationship after toxic relationship. I couldn't seem to find a boyfriend, a decent boyfriend who genuinely loved me and respected me. I just felt so lost in life. I didn't know my purpose. And to be honest, I just felt hopeless and I felt really fearful of life and just that life was just shit, to be honest. So when I went online, I was looking for solutions to my situation and I heard people saying, you need to love yourself. And at the time, that phrase, it just seemed like some woo-woo term, like, oh, you just need to love yourself. And I was like, if only it was as simple as that. But I thought, I do love myself because I was exercising 4 times a week, 5 times a week, doing my weight training. So that's a form of self-love. Like, I was really looking after my body. And I was healthy eating as well. And that, again, nourishing my body, looking after my body. And when I thought about myself, I thought, well, yeah, I'm a decent person. I don't hate myself. So I must love myself. But there were some things that I was doing that I completely overlooked that now when I look back, I was clearly not loving myself. And to be honest, those things that I was doing, when I look at them now, those are the things that someone would do if you hated yourself. So when I look back, yeah, I was doing the exercise, I was healthy eating, I thought I was an all right person. But the other things that I were doing, the destructive things that I overlooked, those things completely cancelled out the exercise and healthy eating. In this video about self-love, I think I'm gonna have to do it in 2 parts. So the first part is gonna be about the things that I were doing that were not loving myself. And those are things that you might be doing in your life right now. If your life isn't going quite how you'd like it, you feel like you're in a bit of a rut, you feel lost, there's some things that I'm going to explain in this video that you might be doing that you've overlooked that are stopping you from feeling happy, from feeling confident, and from finding your purpose and going after your big dreams and goals. Maybe you've not even got any big dreams and goals, because I know when I didn't have any self-love and everything was going wrong, I didn't have any dreams and goals. I was just absolutely lost. And then the second part, part 2, which I will release next Sunday, that's going to be on the changes I made and the habits and things that I implemented that have completely transformed my life. Because yeah, I went from being depressed every single day. I had long-term depression. I was riddled with anxiety. I was so lost. I could never find a nice boyfriend, all those things. And then my career as well, like just feeling like I was really holding myself back in my career. I wasn't earning as much money as my friends because I had no confidence and I had no motivation and drive, to be honest. All those things I have completely turned around. So now I have finally found a loving, honest, respectful man and a healthy relationship. I've been in that relationship for 2 years. That is major for me. Like, to have found that, I nearly gave up all hope on finding a healthy relationship. I've got back into my career. I'm doing a job that I enjoy. I'm earning a lot more money. And I've also been able to cure my long-term anxiety and depression. That one is absolutely major because I'm no longer living under a dark cloud every single day. This transformation has come from loving myself and understanding what self-love actually is. And the thing is, self-love, it isn't this woo-woo term. Like, the things that I've implemented are actually really obvious and really simple. And I don't understand how I didn't realize this years ago. Like, it's blatantly obvious what self-love looks like and what behaviors aren't self-love. But yeah, at the time I was just so lost and confused. And I think to be honest, I wasn't being honest with myself and I didn't have the motivation to make changes. But that all changed recently since I got into my 30s, and I've really got serious about wanting to feel better. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about, the ways in which I clearly wasn't loving myself, that one is the major one. It's the first one I'm going to talk about. And literally, if you have not got that thing spot on, it is going to cancel out every other thing that you do. Like, you have got to get that one right. That one is just absolutely profound. It's critical that you get that one right. Otherwise, like I said, if you're doing exercise, if you're healthy eating, if you're going and putting on a face mask at the weekend, whatever, it's going to completely cancel out everything else. So you have got to get that one right. For major transformation to happen in your life, you have got to get the first thing that I'm going to talk about now right. So here are the 6 things I were doing that were clearly not self-love. These are not forms of self-love, and you need to correct these things if you want to see transformation in your life and get out of that rut. So the number one thing, the critical thing that I was doing that was not a form of self-love, I was speaking to myself like crap every day in my head. So here, think about the narrative that is playing every day in your head, the words that your mind is saying to you every single day. So for me, things started to go wrong for me from about the age of 12. At the age of 12, that's when I started to get very critical thoughts, especially about my physical appearance. So yeah, from the age of 12 until I'd say the age of 32, I allowed that voice to beat me down every day, and it got louder and louder. To be honest, there's been points when that voice has beat me down that much. And that was just in recent years when it came to a head, where I just felt like life was just too hard and it was too scary. And to be honest, sometimes I felt like it would be easier not to be here. Like, I never planned to take my life, but I would have fleeting thoughts thinking, this is just too much. Like, this is depressing. It's relentless. I can't cope with this feeling in my mind and body like every day. From the age of 12 up until 32, I never questioned that voice. When thoughts would come up like, oh, Gabrielle, you're not pretty enough, or you're so ugly, or there's something weird about you, or look, you've wasted all your life with bad mental health, there's no hope for you now, you're lazy, you're not clever enough, you've not done anything with your life, you've wasted your skills and talents, you've just deteriorated, you're stagnant. Literally, this was the voice playing in my head every single day. And when those thoughts came into my head, I did not challenge those thoughts. I just let them run out like a broken record every single day. And just think the toll that that will take on you. So in my situation, I felt that bad. I then ended up acting out on those thoughts. So acting out on those thoughts looked like me harming myself in a variety of ways, which I'll go on to speak about in the next few points. And just generally getting in my own way in life, like being my own worst enemy, like sabotaging my life. I cannot tell you how important it is to be mindful of the words that you are saying to yourself every single day and what thoughts you choose to believe about yourself. Because what I've come to understand and what I've heard other people say online is that your thoughts lead to actions and behaviors in life, which they did in my situation. My negative, fearful thoughts led to me harming myself and sabotaging my life. And then that creates your reality. And my reality was a very dark, very scary, very hopeless, morbid reality. So another way that I was not showing myself love, and one of the ways in which I was harming myself, was that in the past I have restricted my eating. So I have had eating disorders. So I had anorexia and bulimia. If you've got any issues around food, and if you're punishing your body by restricting food, binge eating, over exercising, that is not an act of self-love. That if you're harming, that is a form of harm. If you're harming your body, starving yourself to death, that is not an act of self-love. That is not someone who loves themselves. So I developed anorexia at the age of 17 after I split up with an ex-boyfriend, and that carried on till the age of 24. But I have been able to completely recover from that. I've actually done a full video on how I recovered from my eating disorder on my channel. If you go on my channel, there's only like a few videos on there, you'll easily find it. But yeah, I was literally trying to make myself disappear. Like, I was starving myself to death. So now I am very mindful about my healthy eating and exercise, and making sure it doesn't step over that line to a form of punishment. It's important to get the balance right here, because sometimes I really push myself in my sessions, and that can feel like a form of punishment as suffering. But afterwards, I allow time to recover. So I have 2 to 3 rest days a week. Afterwards, I will nourish my body and replenish it with healthy foods. Also, with my healthy eating, I'm not super strict. Like, I still have chocolate most days. When I go out to eat, I won't just pick a salad. I won't pick the healthiest option. So I do have balance there. So it's about getting that balance. You can still push yourself with exercise, but it can't be to the brink, to the detriment where you're actually putting your mental and physical health in danger. So the third way in which I wasn't loving myself, since the age of 12, I developed a skin picking disorder. And since that age, I have picked my skin excessively. So it started with acne on my face. I picked the skin on my face. I picked the skin on my chest, my arms, my legs, my back. And now literally I've got scars everywhere. I've also done a video on this topic on my channel that you can go and watch in full, about what triggered that disorder and how I overcame it. I actually ended up hospitalizing myself twice with skin picking disorder, and that actually happened in recent years. Skin picking is a form of hurting yourself. It's a form of causing harm. Other forms of causing harm to yourself that are similar to skin picking would be nail biting the skin around your nails. I also went through that when I was a teenager. I bit all the skin. It started at the side of my nails. I'd bite the skin, and it ended up like these 3 fingers on each hand. Literally, I had plasters on them because I was biting the skin so excessively. So skin picking, nail biting, pulling out hair as well. I knew this girl at college. She would pull out her hair and she'd have bald patches. Pulling out your eyelashes, pulling out your eyebrows. Some people, that it's not spots that they pick, they literally just start scratching a random patch of skin and causing scabs on their skin. Anything like that is harming your body. Like, this body that you've been gifted with in life, that isn't an act that someone would do who loves themselves. So yeah, be very mindful of that. If you're doing anything like that, just know that is not a form of self-love. The fourth way I was not showing myself self-love was binge drinking. So I had an issue with alcohol. So every few months I'd have a blowout and I'd get absolutely annihilated. I can remember, like, leading up to these nights, I'd say to my friends, like, I want to get absolutely annihilated. I want to get obliterated tonight. And that for me was because my life, I wasn't happy in life. Like I said, every day I was feeling hopeless. I was under this dark cloud, and it was a form of escapism. I needed a release. I needed an escape from this crap life that I had. It was a high for me. But then obviously afterwards, I come absolutely crashing down. So when I was drinking, I would just be embarrassing. I'd make like bad decisions, like especially with guys when I was drunk, putting my safety in jeopardy. The next day, I'd be in an absolute pit of despair. I'd be so anxious, so depressed. that would last for about a week. I'd be on some sort of come down for a week, and it would mess my mental health up the next week, especially when it came to going to the gym. I'd feel really demotivated. At work, I'd feel demotivated. So yeah, this was a form of harming myself. Like I said, I had many forms of harming myself, whether it be starving myself, picking my skin, binge drinking myself into oblivion. The next day I'd be vomiting all day. Like, that is such an unkind act towards myself. Like, again, literally set out on destroying myself. So yeah, if you binge drink, just know that that is not a form of self-love. Someone who loves themselves doesn't pump themselves full of poison and put their safety in jeopardy and make themselves really ill mentally and physically. So the fifth way that I was clearly not showing myself self-love, and this is a big one, I endured toxic relationships. So because I was so depressed and so unhappy with myself, and because I was clearly harming myself and not showing myself the love and kindness that I deserved, I had a big empty hole inside me, a big void, and I needed to fill that with love, the love that I wasn't giving myself. So I sought that externally. But the thing is, I was in a state of desperation. I was desperate for this void inside me to be filled because it was so uncomfortable. And when you're in that state of desperation, you are like a magnet for toxic people. So literally, I just found myself going from toxic relationship to toxic relationship. I never really had a break in between. I always needed someone, and I was very confused about why this was happening to me, why I couldn't find a good man that respected me and loved me and was actually excited to be with me. Like, no one ever seemed that bothered about me. It was always like me on the back foot scrambling for love and attention. But it's because these people can sense that you've no self-love. So I ended up in relationships with narcissists. So I went from an overt narcissist to a covert narcissist. And when I was in these relationships, the guys started to test my boundaries, and they quickly realized that they could trample all over my boundaries. I had very minimal to no boundaries. So when they didn't meet my needs, and then when they disrespected me, I tolerated that situation because I was clinging on for them to dear life, and I didn't want the relationship to end. I didn't want to be by myself again. I didn't want to be alone. So I tolerated their crappy behavior. And that was a really, really low point in my life. Like, when I was with one of the narcissists, the covert narcissist, that the way that relationship ended, that ended up being my ultimate rock bottom. And that is one of the situations that actually propelled me on this trajectory of healing and really turning around my life and putting in place these changes to really transform my life, because it was that painful and I suffered that much that I couldn't bear it anymore. The thing is, when these narcissists treated me like crap, my brain was already used to suffering. I caused myself so much suffering every single day, whether it be the ways that I was harming myself, like skin picking, binge drinking, whatever. But it was just the narrative in my head. I beat myself down every day. So that was another reason why I stayed with the narcissist, because that's what I was used to. I was used to suffering. That was like the norm for me, which now I'm saying it is really sad. People who've got self-love, who value their sanity, who value their happiness, who know exactly what they want out of a relationship and partner, when that person starts to disrespect them, they don't stick around for that, because they know their worth and they will not tolerate being disrespected. So they will leave that relationship and move on. It's only people who have low self-love who stick around and enjoy that type of pain and suffering, because like I said, you're desperate for love because you're not showing yourself that love. People who show themselves self-love, they feel strong within themselves. So it's like I feel now. I feel strong within myself and I feel confident. And if I didn't have a partner, I know I can give myself pretty much everything that I need. Everything that I need, I have got within myself, and I can give that to myself. I can give myself the love, kindness, and affection that I need. So, yeah, if you're tolerating a toxic relationship, whether that be a love partner or a family member or a friendship, if you're tolerating it and it's toxic, just know that that is not loving yourself. Enduring a relationship that causes you pain and suffering is not a form of self-love. So the sixth and final way I clearly wasn't showing myself self-love was that I was staying in jobs that I hated, that were unfulfilling. I had zero confidence, so I was signing up for roles that were clearly below my skill level. This resulted in me not earning much money, especially not as much money as my friends. This also resulted in me feeling really brain dead because I was doing monotonous jobs that weren't challenging me, jobs that literally just weren't fulfilling me in any way. I didn't feel excited about getting up for work in any way. Because I didn't have any confidence, I was holding myself back, but I didn't have any confidence, again, because of the narrative that was playing in my head. The narrative that was playing in my head every day was, Gabrielle, you're not good enough, you're weak, you've got no confidence, and everyone knows it. You've wasted so much time doing nothing, you're lazy, any intelligence that you had, any gifts or talents that you had have just completely stagnated. Now you're in your 30s, time has passed you by, and you've just deteriorated and there's no hope for you. Literally, you're going to have to do these low skill jobs for the rest of your life because you're not capable of doing anything else. Here, can you see again how cruel I was being to myself? Literally, I was only in my early 30s. I've not missed the boat. People transform their lives in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Time hasn't run out for me, but because I had that depressive mindset, everything was so doom and gloom and everything was so finite and certain. So guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Stay tuned for part 2 when I'm going to explain exactly what changes I've incorporated into my life that have transformed my life completely. So these are acts of self-love that I've implemented consistently over the last couple of years that have completely transformed my life. They've allowed me to find a loving, healthy relationship, to get back into my career, start earning more money. I've found my purpose in life. I feel driven and motivated, and I'm no longer controlled by my depression and anxiety. So yeah, I hope you found this video interesting. Those 6 acts of non-self-love that I went through. Think about what you do in your day-to-day life, the way that you're treating yourself, and do any of those things resonate with you? Are you thinking, actually, I'm guilty of doing that? But like I said, the number one thing, if you want to see transformation in your life and get out of that depressed, negative rut, the number one thing is the first point that I talked about the narrative in your mind and changing your mindset and what you say to yourself every day. Because like I said, hand on heart, the thoughts that you have in your head, the tone of those thoughts, whether they're positive and negative, and the thoughts that you choose to latch onto and believe, that will completely shape the reality that you experience in this life. Like 100% that is true. So thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you in part 2.